For scalable and secure microservice authentication, asymmetric JWT are essential. Let's implement this with Spring Boot and RSA. In our previous tutorial, we built a JWT authentication system using a symmetric HS256 key. While that works, but in the production environment with multiple services, it's a significant risk. One leaked secret key compromises every service, and key rotation requires a full redeployment. Today, we are fixing that by moving RSA public-private keys. You'll learn how to generate a 2048-bit key pair and configure Spring Boot 3 to sign tokens with the private key and validate them with the public key. This approach is more secure, scalable, and makes key rotation simple. By the end, you will have a production-ready foundation for asymmetric JWT authentication. So, let's get started.
This is the project from my previous tutorial. If you missed that tutorial, I highly recommend you to watch that. That tutorial is on my YouTube channel. You can find the tutorial, this one, HS256 JWT. I will put the link in the description. I also uploaded the final source code to the GitHub. You can find that source code from the description as well. Now, back to the IDE. As I mentioned in the previous tutorial, let me open my application.properties file from src main resources. Here we defined this JWT secret key. With this single symmetric key, we signed the token and also verified the token. But in this video, as I promised, I will show you how to generate a private and public key pair using the RSA algorithm. Sign the token using the private key and then verify the token using only the public key. Let's see how we can do that. First thing first, let's generate our private and public keys. For this demonstration purpose, I'm going to store this in my server. So let's create a new directory inside our src main resources to store our keys. Let's name this directory certs. Now open the terminal. I am currently inside this project directory. I am going to navigate to the certs directory. So cd src, then main, then resources, and then certs. Inside this directory, I am going to create our private and public keys. For generating this, I am going to use a tool called OpenSSL. First, the private key. In the terminal, I will run the command OpenSSL. For generating private key, we need the command genpk, then specify the algorithm -algorithm. This is RSA. Now define the output file name -out and the file name is private.pem. Now set the key generation option -pkey-opt and this is RSA underscore keygen underscore bits and this will be 2048 bits. So our private key is generated. If you check in the search directory, here we have this private.pem file and this is our private key. Now from this private key, I am going to generate the corresponding public key. Back to the terminal. For the public key, we will use this same OpenSSL tool. In the command, type OpenSSL, then RSA, then provide the option PUBOut. This tells OpenSSL to print only the public key component. Then give the input private key -in. Our private key was private.pem. Give the output file name -out. The file name is public.pem. So our public key is generated. Let's check. Here you can see we have this public.pem file and this is our public key. Okay. Now in our application.properties file, I am going to replace the single secret key with properties for our generated public and private keys. So let's remove this line and for the private key, the property name is security.jwt, then private-key and the value will be in the class path. So class path colon, then this is on our search directory, then private.pem. In real production environment, you might need to put this key in other secret storage or HSM. Here, you need to provide the address of that secret server. And now for the public key. Let's copy this line and paste it below and change it from private key to public key, and the file from private.pem to public.pem. Now go to our security config class in the config package. Here we previously defined the secret key field. We do not need this anymore. Let's remove it. Instead, first I will define a field for the private key. It will be private. The type will be RSA private key and the name private key. And we'll inject the value using value annotation. The value is from the property security.jwt.private-key that we have defined in our application.properties file. Similarly, we need a field for the public key. Private, the type is RSA public key, then name is public key, and the value annotation, and this will point to security.jwt.public-key. Now we have those two keys injected, and we need to update our JWT decoder and JWT encoder beans. For the JWT decoder, we do not need these key bytes logic. Let's remove those two lines, and in the return statement for this Nimbus JWT decoder, let's move it to multiple lines. Here we do not need this with secret key. Instead, we'll use with public key. And here we provide our public key field. Now it's time to update the JWT encoder. Let's remove these two lines of code for the symmetric key. We do not need this. And for the Nimbus JWT encoder, if we check the source code, command and click if you are using Mac, this Nimbus encoder constructor accepts JWK source. So let's define our JWK source for this. Close this source window. Here in our JWT encoder bean method, first let's define an RSA key. Here we have two options to choose from here. We are going to use this one from the com nimbusds.jose.jwk. So RSA key equals new RSA key dot builder. Here we provide our public key. Now dot private key, give the private key, and finally build the object. Now we need to define the JWK source. So JWK source, its type of security context, and JWK source, this equals new immutable JWK set, and in the constructor we need to pass JWK set and provide RSA key as the constructor parameter of JWK set. And here in the Nimbus JWT encoder constructor, provide this JWK source. So that's all for our security config changes. Now we are going to update our JWT service. Let's open JWT service class. Here, this was the method for generating a new token. The only thing we need to change in this method, that is here this algorithm in the JWS header. Previously, as we used symmetric key, we provided HS256. This time we'll replace this with signature algorithm.rs256 because we are now using RSA. With that, our modification is complete. Now let's start the project. Our project has started. Let's test it in the Postman. Here, this was the URL for the login. Let's send the request. So our new token is generated. Let's copy this. Let me show you one online tool to check if the RSA keys were used for signing. In the browser, go to jwt.io. Here in this field, paste the token. In the header data, you can see the algorithm is now RS256 and the payload contains the issuer, subject, expiration and other information. Here, to validate the signature, we need to provide the public key. From the ID, in the search directory, let's open our public.pem file, copy this key and back in the browser, paste it here in the public key box. So our signature is verified with the public key. The token was signed with the private key and we successfully verified with the public key. Now let's try to access our protected endpoint. In Postman, navigate to the other tab. This was our GET request to the API v1 hello endpoint. Now in the authorization header, as a bearer token, let's provide our newly received token. This was not the token. Let's copy the full token again carefully from the login tab. Copy this token and paste it in the token field and send a request. So we are getting this response, hello admin. And if we do not provide any token in the header, let's remove this. And if we now send a request, we will get 401 unauthorized. So again, provide the token and send a request. And we are now able to access this endpoint with the message hello admin, the name of the signed in user. And that's how we can implement a more secure asymmetric key approach for JWT in Spring Boot using RSA.
We have successfully signed tokens with a private key and validated them with a public key, which is standard practice for many enterprise applications. But now, that's how API can reliably identify who user is, that is, authenticate the user. The next critical question is, what is that the user allowed to do? How do we ensure a regular user can't access an endpoint made only for an admin? That is precisely where role-based access control comes in. In the very next video, we will build upon this project to implement role-based access control with Spring Security. You will learn how to assign roles to users and restrict access to specific API endpoints based on those roles. Ready to add that essential layer of authorization to your API? You can watch that tutorial right now by clicking on the video link on the screen. Thanks for watching and I'll see you there.